everybody. Steve Harvill with Creative Ventures, and I'm going to start this Did You Know with a Did You Know. Did you know it took Walt Disney 22 years from the birth of the idea to Disneyland to moving a shovel full of dirt? During that time, he had sketched and drawn and built models and brought in experts to help him with the planning process. But until 1953, when he purchased 140 acres in Anaheim, California, made up of orange groves and walnut groves, it was at that point he realized, I really need someone who knows how to build something. He said, it's one thing to draw, it's another thing to build. Now, he had engaged a guy named Joe Fowler, former Rear Admiral, graduate of the Naval Academy and MIT, a naval boat architect, to build the Mississippi paddle wheeler that would make the circuit around the small lagoon he was building at Disneyland. Now, he didn't know at that time that Joe really had a large construction background. He had been responsible for a massive tract home developments in San Francisco. And as Walt and Joe had conversations, it became apparent to Walt that he needed Joe Fowler, that he needed help. Man, it is hard for experts and it is hard for leaders to ask for help. But Walt knew he needed it and desperately needed it. And at that moment, Joe Fowler went from boat architect to the person responsible for the construction of Disneyland. Now that was big. Consider this, they broke ground for Disneyland. The first shovel moved in July of 1954, and it opened to guests in July of 1956. That's 2 years to build something as massive as the first theme park really in the world. Now Joe brought a couple things that Walt recognized when he needed help. One is he knew how to do big projects. If you ever wonder how aircraft carriers were built during World War II, well, Joe was responsible for building floating airports. The second thing he brought was kind of an attitude. And it was an attitude that nothing seemed impossible to Joe. If you told Joe we need more giraffes for the jungle ride, he would find giraffes. If you told him I need to speed up Cinderella's ride, I need to speed up Snow White's ride, he would figure out how to speed it up. Walt hated to hear two things. How much does it cost? And I can't do it. He never heard either of those things from Fowler. One of the great stories was there was a band shell in which the Disney band would perform coming out around the sides of a waterfall that fell in through. And Walt, looking at rehearsal one time, turned to Fowler and said, I want him to come out through the waterfall, not around it, through it. The only thing Fowler said is what became the anthem for the construction of Disney. He looked at Walt and said, when do you need it? Those words echoed throughout every impossible task that Fowler ended up doing at Disneyland. In fact, he was so good at it that he was made general manager and served as general manager for Disneyland in its first 10 years while simultaneously working the construction of Disney World. He knew big projects. He had great expertise and an unbelievable attitude of accomplishment. Here's my favorite Fowler story. Do you know what the most popular ride at Disneyland and Disney World is? I'll give you a second to think about it. And it comes the same every year when they interview exiting guests. It's Pirates of the Caribbean. And after the first ride of Pirates of the Caribbean, where Walt wrote it with Joe and the Imagineers that were responsible for making it, he got off the small boat and turned to everybody and said, this is the single most spectacular thing we've ever done. I'm so proud of everybody. It's going to change the face of Disneyland. And then he said, you know what would be really nice? Is at the beginning, while they're weaving their way through the New Orleans kind of bayou, if we included fireflies, little flashes of light that would give micro surprises to the guests before they went down the first waterfall. Nobody said, what do you mean by fireflies? Fowler said, well, I'll just capture that idea. When do you need them? Before the ride opens. You see, here's what you need to know from this video. Everybody needs help, but it's not about asking for help. It's about finding the right help. Not only the right person, but the right skills married together. And if you do that, when you need help, find the right person that has the right skills and you use that as your filter, you'll end up having someone that'll ask you, when do you need it? Thanks everybody for listening. I'll see you next time on Did You Know?